New report that the tension between President Trump and judges has become a constitutional crisis, with one former federal judge describing it as all-out war. USA Today summarizes the actions that led to this. Quote, arresting judges, threatening their impeachment, routinely slamming them on social media and trying to go around them completely. The concerns escalating so much that Senator Cory Booker on Thursday introduced legislation to move control of the Marshal Service, which protects judges, from the executive branch to the judicial branch itself. There's concern that Trump could order the marshals to stand down in retaliation for a decision that doesn't go his way, exposing judges to danger at a time when threats against them have escalated. And the president's criticism has, too, as rulings go against him. Most recently on Friday, when a federal judge ordered the administration to facilitate the return of a gay Guatemalan man who was deported to Mexico. Joining me now, retired FBI agent Rob D'Amico, former U.S. attorney in Michigan, University of Michigan Law School professor and MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuade, and former Florida Republican Congressman Carlos Curbelo, an MSNBC political analyst. Happy Memorial Day to all of you. Barbara, the Trump administration has not indicated, I should say, to judges that it plans to remove or weaken marshals' protection for current and former federal judges. But given the current state of tensions between the Trump administration and judges, what are you hearing? What are the conversations? What's the level of fear that's out there?
Yeah, I think that this is actually a really interesting and terrific idea. I think judges are very concerned. We see the number of threats up. We see things like social media posts intimidating and harassing them. We see them receiving pizzas delivered to their homes, which may sound harmless, but it really suggests an intimidation tactic of I know where you live. And because of this clash with the executive branch, I think that having the U.S. Marshal Service fall under the judicial branch actually makes a lot of sense, because then the marshals are taking their orders from the judiciary. Right now, they're taking their orders from the Justice Department. The other thing this would create is the ability for judges to truly hold people in contempt for their orders, because they would have their own law enforcement arm to effectuate those orders. Right now, if a judge were to hold someone in contempt, they would be beholden to the Justice Department to execute that order. So I think it's actually a really great idea.
One of the things we've seen, Rob, and this is outside of this particular question, but people who have been in a particular government service for a long time being asked to do something that is out of the norm, that they don't think is a great idea. And that's obviously the concern here, right? So how do you develop a security policy for, first of all, a group as large as judges are, under a fast escalating threat level as they are, and with this level of uncertainty?
I think this is actually going back to how society is taking it upon themselves to do threats on both sides. I mean, we saw things happening with Tesla because of what he was doing. Now the fear of this, I think, is a bit different. But I think you'd have to stand up an entirely different service, because the marshals have other codes that they're responsible for. So I think it could be some thought. I think the judges need it because, again, society in general is starting to get more violent and retaliatory.
So how complicated is this? I mean, it can sound simple, like, OK, well, justice used to take care of it. Now the judges themselves, the judicial branch will. But how complicated could a move like that be?
I think it'd be huge. But I think maybe if you take it, the Supreme Court has their own security. And if you take it from there and then decide to, you would have to move funds, but make it from the Supreme Court security and then put it on the federal judges. And then obviously state and locals would have to be on themselves. But I think you could form it under that, and it just be security for justices, for judges out there, and nothing else.
Congressman, Republicans seem to be piling on to support Trump in this fight with the judiciary. And I just wonder what their play is here. Is it about loyalty to Trump, or do they believe that the federal judiciary is overstepping?
Well, look, you can believe that the judiciary is overstepping while respecting the separation of powers. And on this question, this idea that Senator Booker has brought forward, Congress has its own police force, and Congress has its own operation to secure its members and to make sure that it can meet and that it can fulfill its constitutional duty. So for conservatives who have for a long time advocated for loyalty to the Constitution, the separation of powers, checks and balances, this is something that is consistent with that ideology, with that perspective on the United States government. So, yeah, I mean, we know that Republicans are extremely loyal to Donald Trump, that a lot of them fear primary challenges from the Trump wing of the Republican Party. But this is a good opportunity to reaffirm those separation of powers, those conservative principles that Republicans have adhered to for a very long time.
And Barbara, Trump is not alone in his criticism of judges who have blocked his policies. There is now another bill. It's a Republican bill aimed at stopping federal judges, district judges, from issuing nationwide injunctions. And the Attorney General has not been shy in her criticism either. Take a listen.
Madam What's happened to our judiciary is beyond me. They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe. I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law.
Calling them deranged. How much has what judges have heard from Trump, from Bondi, from Republican congressional leaders exacerbated this security concern?
Well, it's hard to know what's cause and what's effect, but certainly the rhetoric doesn't help, and we've seen a spike in threats against judges. It's got to be part of it. But I think one of the things the Trump administration is trying to do is to conflate substance with process. They say we have a mandate to be aggressive in enforcing immigration laws. Maybe that's true, but they still have to do it in compliance with the law. And so these criticisms about judges are really for upholding procedural protections that are constitutionally guaranteed, like the right to due process. And so when they engage in this kind of rhetoric, they're certainly free to criticize a judge. But when they go so far as to call them deranged or to call for their impeachment, I think that rhetoric does cause people out there, somebody who may be a bit unhinged, to hear that and decide they're going to take action in response.